work as a tour guide both inside and outside of the country. What are the top 5 tourist destinations you visited?
Among the other places which I have visited most, the top 5 which I really like most, number 1 is Pattaya. This is in Thailand. And then next we have Pu Chi Tunnel. This is in Vietnam, particularly in Ho Chi Minh City. And then we have, of course, Sentosa of Singapore. And then, what else? Mirror of the World of Shenzhen, China. And the last would be the Disney of Hong Kong.
Next is, how would you describe yourself as a tour guide?
Being a tour guide for a couple of years and as an accredited by the Department of Tourism, I can describe myself as a very adventurous tour guide and at the same time, a good interpreter of our country.
Which country have you visited which is not so pleasant to you and why?
Okay, well, the country which I have visited, which is not so pleasant to me in terms of my gender, I would rather say Brunei Darussalam. Why? Because if you are in there, the LGBTQA group cannot express themselves because it's an Islamic country. So there are some restrictions wherein we cannot really express ourselves that much.
What are your tips for us tourism students who wants to be like you?
Well, you know what? As a tourism practitioner, the only tip that I can assure you, or rather share with you, is to study first and finish your course because there are a lot of opportunities out there. As a matter of fact, you will learn more a lot if you are already outside in the corporate world. So temporarily, where you are still in the academy or you're still in college, try to search more, be more attentive with all the details, and try to be in depth in terms of information dissemination and research, and try to be normal of who you are.
Next is, how would you engage a group comprising very diverse people?
Well, honestly, being in the industry for more than 25 years, I've been handling different people from the different walks of life. And since they are all diverse, the first thing that I usually do is to orient them. Yes, before I start the tour, we need to orient them of all the local laws that we have. We need to acknowledge all the people who will be joining the tour so that at least somehow we know what are the different cultural attributes of these people. And by then I can easily manage to handle them properly by simply recognizing them and knowing about themselves as well.
What can you say about the World Tourism Overview?
Okay, tourism overview, as you may see right now, we're still considered as one of the most lucrative industry. Why? Because tourism really served as a tool for the economic development. As a matter of fact, way back year 2009, when the former Secretary Richard Gordon authored the Republic Act number 9593, otherwise known as the Tourism Act. So it only shows how the tourism really helped for the economic growth. And I think tourism must be and should be on the top choice of every country because it really helps them economically speaking.
What tourism students needs to know about the World Tourism Overview?
Honestly speaking, a tourism student must probably see the entire tourism as a whole. Not everything is really easy. Well, any career doesn't start with luxury. Okay, there are still hardship. And in any parts of our career, there are really ups and downs. So when you enter tourism, do not expect everything is luxury. Do not expect everything there is money. But all you have to do is to think, how are you going to satisfy your guests and how can you give quality service as well? Because that is really the essence of being in the tourism industry.
Next is, what is your strength and weaknesses as a tour guide?
All of us have our own weaknesses and strength. On my case, I should say that my strength is that I really love the Philippines so much. So I'm really passionate enough. That's why I can really explain in a full advance about what a tourism is. But behind that, of course, My weakness probably, I can easily get attached with my clients. So every time they leave, sometimes I am really emotionally attached. And that's why every time they leave the country and after the tour, I always felt sad.
What are the struggles of being a tour guide and a professional practitioner?
There are actually a lot of struggles as a tour guide and a practitioner in the industry. First and foremost, because you're handling a very diverse guests and clients, so I expect that all of them has different cultural attributes, especially attitudes. So all you have to do is to be very flexible on how are you going to handle them properly. You need to be able to connect with them. Okay, and I think another one would be time. Why? It would be very challenging because most of the time your time and your schedule are always attached with the tour, and sometimes you don't even find time more on your family and yourself as well. That's why some of the tour guides are still single. Like,
What was the first international tourism organization you ever handled or attended? And what was the most memorable thing you learned in there?
you know what? I am really privileged that the Department of Tourism, even though I graduated on the same year of 2017, I was able to handle the World Tourism Organization directors during their visit here in the Philippines. And with that short tour that I handled from Manila going to Pampanga, I was able to learn a lot of things. Like, for example, that all these people from other countries, when it's their first time to the Philippines, they were really amazed. And I guess the most simplest thing that we can share to them are how people really live in the Philippines. And with that, I was able to learn and appreciate more the culture of the Philippines and how lucky we are in comparable to other Southeast Asian countries.